story begins with a couple that we've known for many years, and we'll just call them Jenny and Tom for this version of this to protect the innocent. And they've been together for 7 years, and they have a kid. And from the outside, their marriage looks amazing. Successful careers, like the whole 9 yards. However, for the last year, they've been contemplating divorce.
So when we were chatting with them about what was going on, and of course, we want to support them to stay together, we recognized that one of the things that was missing right now is they stopped growing together, and therefore they began growing apart. And one of the things we suggested is what we refer to as relationship is your North Star. And by that, I mean finding the thing that is both of you, your relationship can point to, that you can come together and know that, yes, we're headed in this direction as a couple for these reasons, or to get to this point in our lives. That is a surefire way to get you growing together.
Yeah, so what has happened for them, it's super, super subtle. You won't even notice it when you're not growing together. Because if you're not prioritizing your relationship, if you're not putting in the time to actually make sure you're growing together, no matter what, you will be growing apart. It's part of the way things work. You're either growing towards the light or you are dying out. And so what are some of the ways that you can tell that you are growing apart? Well, the first one is when conflicts start to emerge more regularly. And instead of, reflecting, and one strong connection is now riddled with conflict more and more often.
Another thing is rising tensions. Basically, it's communication breakdown everywhere. No matter what you say, no matter what they say, you can't seem to find yourselves on the same page, and everything feels like an adversarial moment in your relationship.
Another way is when your career starts taking more precedent than your relationship. It doesn't mean that you can't have a really winning career and spend a lot of time in the office or whatever it is, but if you're not equally spending time in connection and finding one another, it's going to be an issue.
Another thing is when your sex life or your intimacy or your physical connection begins to fizzle, and it becomes that much harder and even less desirable to get with your partner and have sexual intimacy of any kind.
We've had periods of that in our relationship because whether we've had, a death of a parent or other things going on that's taken our attention, it's taken a toll on our relationship, but we're aware of it and we're actively tacking back towards more intimacy, more connection, and those types of things. So another one is when there's a lot of financial stress. That's another sign that your relationship could be growing apart if you're not looking at it, really working on it together. That's another way that you could find that going out from there.
Parenting disagreements often show up as another sign that you're growing apart, or that you haven't actually aligned yourself with your North Star of how you parent. And so if that has been something that is newer or something that has been occurring all along, relationship is your North Star, and creating that would be a path to resolving that.
Another one is past issues that haven't been resolved yet. And you're not going to be able to resolve every past issue, but if you just sweep it under the rug and expect it to go away, it's going to be a big lumpy thing that's in between your relationship, and is absolutely 100% going to grow you away from each other. So
Nobody wants lumpy things in your relationship.
No, not so much. So you will be growing apart if you aren't dealing with those past issues and resolving them.
Lack of quality time. I hear often, especially if you've taken the love languages quiz, that quality time is a way to show our love. And if you're just meeting in passing, or meeting at moments where there's just meals or other things, and you're spending more time on your phones or being distracted and not having the actual quality time that has you feel connected, you're pretty much on your path to growing apart.
Yeah, and another one in there too is knowing each other's love language. If you don't even know how to communicate effectively with one another, like mine is physical touch and words of affirmation, hers is acts of service, and if I'm being of service to her, she feels loved. If I'm not so much. If she's not saying, hey, great job, buddy, and touching me, I'm not feeling loved. And so, and it doesn't have to be, you know, touch. It can be just regular touch like this. So that's another way. If you start growing apart, if you don't know how to communicate effectively with each other's love languages.
All right, so now we've identified a ton of ways that you can find yourself as a potentiality of growing apart. We want to talk about how relationship as your North Star can rekindle you and reconnect you.
Yes. So we like to say that this relationship as your North Star is like the third in your relationship. Some people that are religious would call that God, and that God is in their relationship. For us, we like to refer that is that when two people come together, or when two or more are gathered, then that thing is present. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's even referring to in the Bible. When two or more are present, that thing is present, which some people call God. We are calling our higher self, the higher part of our relationship, the third. And so when we're present, there is this other thing that's actually, it's not more important, but it's equally as important as the two of us. And if we listen to that thing, if we learn to cultivate and understand what that thing wants, which is the betterment of both of us, and there's always a better way for both of us to succeed, more than the shared parts, then we can start to really cultivate a relationship with it.
Knowing what it is that got you together in the first place and where you would like it to be, and that could be in 30 days, in 90 days, in a year, in a lifetime. And getting clear on, in essence, a vision for your relationship, but truly an understanding of where are you headed and how does this dynamic serve that mission, serve that goal, serve that destination. Many times we don't even stop to think about that. We fall in love, we get caught up, we might get married, have kids, have the careers, and never at any point did we stop to think, how does this serve all of those things? How does that serve our parenting? How does that serve the advancement of our visions and our passions and our dreams and our careers? How does that serve our health? How does that serve our money? How does that serve our lifestyle? How does that serve our spirituality? How does that serve myself and him and anything else that we together will be dealing with or meeting or wanting or desiring in the world?
Those are all really great questions to, write them down. How does that serve? How does our relationship serve that? So for us, just to give you an example, we knew getting into this relationship that neither of us wanted children. When we had gotten together in life in our early 30s, we were like, you know what, we're good. We don't want children. We're going to have our business, which is serving couples and making great relationships and helping people be the best versions of themselves. That'll be our baby. That'll be the thing that we care for. And so that's part of why we're together. That's part of what our mission is. Also, for us personally, we both have a desire to be good human beings, to be the best human beings that we can be. And she has a real uncanny ability to see all the places where I'm not that. And
and myself.
And in herself. She's really good at it. And she's also gotten really good over the years about how to encourage me to a better self versus pointing out the things that are wrong. That's the growing together part. And that's where I was committed to it. It didn't feel so great when we first got together, and vice versa. I wasn't so great. I couldn't say the right things. I was having a hard time. I was blaming her versus encouraging her. But because we were committed to one another and we were listening to that North Star piece, and we knew that we wanted to be the best people.
We knew where we were headed.
We knew where we were headed.
Together.
We could keep tacking and tracking and getting closer and closer and closer to more and more harmony, more and more love, more and more care. And over the years, that's exactly what's happened. What once was tumultuous or challenging is now just loving, kind, and flowing. So really understanding what that is helpful.
Now, how this helps when you're trying to deal with conflict or having any of the issues that we outlined just a minute ago is you can keep tacking and tracking back to where it is that you want to be and who each other and as a relationship you want to be in doing that. So if you're ultimately working a project together, which isn't always the case in relationships, but it can be.
If you're running a household, you're running a project
Yes,
together.
that is true. Yes, if you're running a household, exactly. Kids and even no kids, you're running a project together. So what is the ultimate North Star of that? And who do you each need to be? What does that mean when it comes to meal times? What does that mean when it comes to being on phones and
where you want to live even?
Yeah, lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera. The more you can get clear of how you're supporting each other to get there. So when you veer off course, just like, if you're, tracking this way and you veer this way, you know how to you can get back there. Oh wait, that's, we're off course. We went this way and we should have been that way. Just like think of a GPS. It's pretty much the same thing. Rerouting. But if you don't know where you're supposed to be and you go off course, you're rerouting. It's like, have you ever seen the GPS? Yeah, it just takes you in circles and you're like, what the heck is going on with my GPS? And you're just like, so frustrated because you missed your turn and you don't know how to get there now, and you have to stop and you have to pull over and reboot the GPS and put the address in, and then you're back on track. Relationship as your North Star is very similar to that.
And you can probably imagine if your relationship has felt like that at times, where you're just going in circles, where you're having the same conversations, where you're doing the thing, because you're not tracking to your relationship North Star. So there's multiple things happening in here. There's like an actual destination over time that gets developed with each other, and your commitment towards being a certain way, like knowing that you want to have family, how you want to raise your family. Hey, I want to live in an apartment. I don't want to be in the country. I want to be in the city. Knowing those types of things, and that may change over time, but that's helpful. So that's one, that's like a very specific thing. And then there's another piece too, which is the deeper listening, which is the North Star piece, the third part that we were talking about, which is really about tuning into each other's needs, your needs, and being able to learn to communicate effectively, connect with each other, and come from love and care and support versus demand or trying to get or manipulation, which we all fall into at times. And it's not necessarily pretty, but when we're listening to our higher selves, the higher version of ourselves, that's when we can really have the best interests of each other at heart.
So we've given you a lot of great information to reflect on. You may not have the path yet or the way there, but even just the exploration of this concept with your partner can be super supportive. And you may already know, if you're married, you can track back to your vows. If you've done any visioning work, it's time to pull it out and spend some time. It's the new year, it's a new time. You can really get grounded and clear and moving in a direction that feels more aligned if you even just take a moment to check in about what it means to you and you about getting yourselves on a relationship is your North Star track.
So what I recommend is go back, watch this video again, write down the questions that we've given you, take some time to be with each other and figure it out. Like, just talk about it. Even having the conversation is going to get a long way for you.
Yeah.
So,
and if you want more tools and tips, stay tuned. We're going to be talking more about this concept.
And please subscribe as well. Thanks.